Brad, good to see you back in the UFC. This is in Toronto. Obviously, I know when you fought in Vancouver last time, didn't go your way. Are you happy that you get to re-enter the UFC and get to do it in Canada and get back on the winning track as far as your UFC record?
You know, if we're talking about going full circle, the first time I did the Ultimate Fighter, my first fight was UFC Toronto. It was UFC 231. And now this time I just came from the finale again, and my first fight's in UFC Toronto. So completely full circle and looking at, replicating history and making it full circle and getting the W again.
How much confidence do you have after that last fight with Cody Gibson? I think going in, a lot of people weren't sure how the fight would look. I know you've been labeled as boring and all this stuff, but that was one of the fights of the year. Just how much are you sort of riding off that into this matchup?
Yeah, that fight was an experience. I'd say it worked out as well as you could, with the, call it hype of one, the card, and then two, me, potentially capturing, the tough title twice. It's good to cap it off with a performance like that. That's not always up to you, but Cody put on a hard pace, and I kept it up. And, you learn a lot about yourself in fights like that. But I'd say, it confirms stuff I already knew about myself. I've been through the ringer to get back here, and so why not make it in the fight too?
How did you structure camp? I don't know if you went home for the holidays or not back to Winnipeg, but did you how did things work out as far as your camp going into this fight?
Well, camp was great, but no, I did not make it home to Winnipeg for the holidays, which is fine. I get to celebrate, after this fight, So that's the plan. Go home, celebrate Christmas, and just soak up some family time, recharge the batteries. But camp was great. We had tons of notice. This is the best version of me there's ever been. I'm healthy. There's a smile on my face. This is the easiest fight week because it's full of excitement being home again.
Who did you get to work with at SBG Ireland? Who are some of the main guys helping you get ready for this one?
It's the normal stable of guys. There's obviously John Kavanagh on the mats every day, giving me some expert coaching. But really, in the past, since I've departed from the UFC, I've been spending a lot of time with Dave Roach. I'd call him my striking coach. He's you can see it in my fights, the change and the evolution, and he's obsessed. He's as obsessed about it as I am, and so having another coach like that is just so it's irreplaceable. I can't put into words. Just having the support of coaches like that through the hard times as well as now, hopefully the good times.
And just last one for me: how familiar were you with Garrett Armfield before taking this fight?
I was quite familiar with Armfield before taking this fight. I remember watching his debut against David Onama on short notice, and it's every Sunday morning. We watch the fights with a coffee in the morning, kind of like morning cartoons, and there we were, my girlfriend and I actually kind of cheering for Armfield. Maybe I'm just a sucker for the underdog, but it was hearing about his goats and all that. You're like, oh, go get the W, go earn your contract, and now I'm fighting him, and that's fine too, I have a lot of respect for him, but, I'm me.
Back here. Yeah, I wanted to ask, your first time here after going 2-2, how did your stint in Brave CF help prepare for your return?
It was definitely the hard road. It was going over to Brave, fighting the killers that they had. They weren't doing me any favors. They gave me the hardest guys they could, time after time. Fighting in what I'd call kind of enemy territory, where the hometown guy, home team guy, both times I fought for the world title there. You definitely learn a lot about yourself, and them being here, surrounded by, Canadian fans, is energy, is a massive energy boost, and as opposed to some of the hostility, which it is what it is. I've been through it all now. That time in Brave definitely shaped me as the fighter I am today, and I don't know how many guys are that much better than the competition I fought over there, so I'm ready to continue that climb.
And I wanted to ask, what did winning a championship on enemy territory do for your confidence?
Again, it's just reminded me that it just confirms what I know about myself. I'm like a fine wine. I get better over time, and 5 rounds definitely suited me. I hope I don't need to go 5 rounds, but doing that twice, Meanwhile, especially my last time there, is the best performance I had up to that date. So I feel like my career is just accelerating.
Thank
Brad,
you.
in the front right here. Obviously, you've trained with Conor and the rest of SBG, and you spent a lot of time around Michael Chandler and the Ultimate Fighter and everything. Well, Conor said he wants that fight to happen at middleweight at 185 pounds. How do you think that fight will look between those two at 185?
Honestly, at 185 pounds, I don't think it will look much different than at welterweight, just with either of them not cutting weight. I'm assuming we're comparing it to welterweight and not lightweight.
We also really haven't seen Michael Chandler at welterweight. He's always been a lightweight, so he's just skipping a weight class entirely to go to middleweight.
Yeah, I imagine for Chandler it would be a much more comfortable cut to 170, but then if we do it at middleweight, they're just probably not dehydrating. So that's pretty much it, which might hold his chin up maybe a little bit more, but then same thing on Conor's end too. So I still think it ends the same as the Eddie Alvarez fight.
Brad, how would you say you're different at all from the last time you fought in Canada, which would have been about 4 years ago, like you said, the end of your first UFC run? Because I think people might see you, think you look the same, you sound the same, your fighting style is similar, but you must know there must be differences. How are you different in the second run?
I'm hardened. I'm hardened. I say I approach fight week very similarly. Excitement. When you're in the UFC, I don't think it's difficult to be excited. It's so easy. It's just the energy, the staff, talking with you guys. This is everything I wanted, and I'm getting it. So there's that excitement, but just the road back was hard, and it tested me. Thinking back about a year ago, pretty much a year ago to the day, I was probably, for the first time in my life, not really happy. And now this is the happiest I've been. So fast forward a year later, look how much can change, and it's going to take a whole lot to change that.
Was it just not being in the UFC? Was that why you didn't feel like you were happy, or?
Yeah, it was certainly because I wasn't in the UFC, but it wasn't because I wasn't deserving to be in the UFC. I was on a full fight win streak, captured a world title, and defended it, and I felt like other people were getting the opportunity that I wasn't. I felt like let me fail. Let me go out there and fail. If I do, great, that's fine. But at least, let me shoot my shot. And now I have it, so all the pressure's off.
Did you ever decide on whether you preferred Ultimate Fighter or Multimate Fighter?
I certainly have to go with Multimate Fighter.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right choice. And did winning the show a second time, did you feel that brought you way more attention than the first time with all the McGregor Chandler drama and all that, or was it comparable or less? I don't know if the show was bigger back then. How did you feel about it?
I honestly both times it was huge. First time because it was such an acceleration in my career. It was from 6-0 no-name Canadian guy to the winner of the Ultimate Fighter, and then what's always funny is I hit kind of a high, and then over the years, it was like a slow bleed of attention. I just noticed, all of a sudden, I'm not getting the interview requests. Everything's slightly changing. The followers are dropping. It wasn't nice to watch, but then having, again, another acceleration, and now I'm more popular than ever, and it feels great, not because I need it, but it's just when someone cares about what you do, it means a lot.